Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, 2 years later. Netflix just posted 3 new episodes. Let's watch.
Well, that was a little more intense than I thought it'd be.
I
know. I also want her to see
feel
that,
like you underplayed it. I feel like you should have been more honest with me that you guys are still together.
Well, that's interesting. So what? So to Francesca, she's like, I thought you weren't really together, or not as together as I think you clearly are. So that raises some red flags on Damian's part.
I don't think I deserved here to be invited here to be spoken to like that.
No, I agree. You should not have been spoken to like that. And that's on Giannina, and that's not on me.
But if you're still together, then I should have been made very clear of that before I came.
Wow. I mean, yikes. So I'm glad Francesca is speaking up. So according to her, she was under the impression that they weren't even together. And maybe that's why she came, because she thought, well, I'm potentially beginning a flirtation or relationship with Damian. That is a big yikes. Let's see what he says.
And I knew I crossed something that came.
I want to leave, to be honest.
Sorry you want to do that.
I want to leave,
I didn't
to be
expect
honest.
that.
Yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. She's nothing.
And the fact that Damian isn't defending himself points to the fact that he might be guilty. I don't know, because, you know, he could say something like, oh, no, me and Giannina, we're in a relationship. Did I not make that clear? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's not saying anything like that. So what's happening? That's upsetting. I thought Damian was a better guy than that, honestly. But, well, what could be the thing that happened here? I wouldn't be surprised if Damian and Giannina had a rocky up and down relationship, because they've had that from the beginning, even, you know, while they were engaged. And maybe Damian is on the fence about the relationship, and he feels like he's kind of in the relationship, but also kind of not. I don't know. That's the best case scenario for me to interpret this, you know, but who knows? Maybe Damian, is that his name? Maybe he is a terrible person or a confused person. Probably confused. I'm guessing confused about which direction he's going in. And when he's talking to Francesca, he leans in a particular direction where he feels like, well, I'm not lying, but he is lying by omission. I want to be clear to everyone. When you're lying by omission, it's lying. To omit the fact that you are with Giannina when you're talking to Francesca, when you kind of know that Francesca would be interested in information, is lying by omission, 100%.
Romeo, you want to take some photos?
To be honest with you, I was so I could be going.
I'm ready to go. You don't have to be here. Okay.
So I don't know if I showed these clips, but Diamond met this fella not too long ago, I think, and she's really into him. But, you know, it's beginning a relationship. Invited him to this anniversary party so that she could have a date, I think. And she was mingling with people that she knew, and he was just sitting in the corner, not really interacting very much. We see some guests interacting with the cast members, but he wasn't interested. Someone went over and talked to him and said, how come you're not mingling? He's like, look, I'm just over here. I'm not interested in talking to those people. And he seemed a little upset about it, which is fine. He didn't want to interact. I could see myself being in a situation. I've been there before where you go to a party and you don't know anyone, and the person you're with knows everybody, and they're off talking, and you're just not in the mood. I definitely have an introverted side to myself, or a shy side to myself. Shy and introverted are not the same thing, by the way. I'm not going to conflate the two. But when I'm in those situations, I'll just drift off to the corner and just, you know, sit there and hope that time passes quickly. And then sometimes I'll just be thinking, I'm just going to go home. That's what he did, and that's fine. He could have been nicer about it. He could have said something like to Diamond of, hey, you know what, I'm just kind of tired. I'm really sorry, but I should go. But instead, he just kind of got angry and left. Maybe he feels upset because she left him in the corner and didn't come over there. Who knows? But what I hope for Diamond is that she doesn't use this evening as a indication of what her relationship with him could be like. You know, it might be, but it's an awkward kind of particular situation, and I hope that, you know, they continue to explore their relationship.
Like, do you not see the disrespect? Do you not see that?
I can see it. You can see it, but when it's been so much
I can see
pressure
how
and
you can
heavy
see it.
on your heart, it's good for me to break that while she's in town. That way I don't have to deal with it anymore.
This is bullshit.
How you're
that
handling it is
excuse
bullshit.
is
How you're
bullshit.
handling it is bullshit.
You put me in the most uncomfortable situation tonight, so you don't have a say. You don't.
I do have a say.
No,
I'm my own
you
person.
do not.
I do have a say. And you don't control me. You don't tell me what to do.
So they're not listening to each other, and they're, I think, beyond that threshold that I often talk about, where they're not really trying to have a constructive conversation, and they're just trying to win, or they're trying to throw ammo at the other person. And Giannina is making some good points. I don't know if I showed it. He's saying, "What do you want from me?" And she's like, "I want some compassion." I think I think she could have just said that. I just want some compassion for my situation. Do you understand what I'm going through? And I think he gets triggered a lot by the way she comes across in these situations. I don't know if he's not used to it or something, but she comes across with, some hostility in her voice. But I think she is doing that because she's trying to communicate that she's hurt. And maybe with someone, I didn't show the clip, but she was with her mom, I believe, and they were talking about how women in their culture are much more fiery, or, more communicative, louder, so to speak, I think they were saying. And that for maybe Damian, it's harder for him to understand that. And that can happen. You can have cross-cultural communication where you are saying one thing and communicating one thing, but the other person is interpreting it in a completely different way. And I think conversely, for Giannina, she is interpreting Damian's stoicism as evidence that he doesn't care. But I think actually when he's doing that, at least partially, I think he's doing it as a way of trying to reduce the conflict. I think he doesn't know what to say, and so he's just not going to say anything, partially out of respect for Giannina, but she interprets that as him pulling away, and then she gets more hostile, and then he starts to shut down some more, and he starts to deflect, and I think that's what's happening right now.
You don't tell me who I can be friends with and who I can't. So don't sit here and tell me I don't have a say. I have a say. I'm a grown man. I can handle my own.
It's unfortunate that Damian interpreted that way. She wasn't saying you can't be friends with her. I think she's saying, why did Francesca come tonight on our anniversary? And why was she talking about us being like a temporary relationship? And why was I getting this weird vibe from her? So I don't think Giannina was saying you can't have a friend, but the circumstances were what she was reacting to.
Tonight's not just our friend's anniversary party, it's also the anniversary of one of the worst nights of my life. And by Damian bringing Francesca here, it makes me feel like I'm chopped fucking liver.
Do you need to go to her for advice about our relationship?
Did you go to your friends about advice on our relationship?
How long have you known Francesca?
Okay, so now Damian's trying to make it better, and she is grilling him. So if I were there, I would say, let's focus on what's really happening right now, I think, which is that for Giannina, she's looking for reassurance. Do you love me? Do you like her? Do you want to be with her? You can be friends with her, but do you want to be with her? Do you love me? Where are we? What are we doing right now? Because I'm quite positive that if Giannina was reassured that Damian was totally 100% into her, into Giannina, then this wouldn't be an issue. So let's see if they can actually get there. So when I work with couples, I will say to each of them, to Giannina, it's important that she understands her attachment worries and really knows them and can communicate them well so that the other person can rise to the occasion. Or the Damians of the world can intuit based on what's happening, which doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand, that Giannina needs reassurance right now. And even though Giannina isn't communicating that very directly, she kind of did earlier, but not right now, Damian could interpret it that way. Because it's a lot to ask someone in Giannina's shoes to be differentiated when she's so triggered, and it's more likely that the Damians of the world will be less triggered. But I think they're actually both pretty triggered right now, which doesn't bode well.
You share a relationship with.
No, you have not. You have met her literally less than 4 months ago, and you feel more comfortable talking to her about our relationship. What is it
About
that
how much I love you, how much I think about you, how great of a person you are.
You literally ignored me all night, talked to every single person except for me for more than 2 minutes, and then you decided to leave without even, like, what? Like, I'm Who am I to you?
Good. Okay, so we kind of got there. Now, hopefully Damon won't focus on the first part of what she said because he could argue against that. He could say, like, well, you walked away from me, which I don't think is necessarily fair, but could be said. But she ended with what I was hoping she would get to, which is, what am I to you? What am I to you?
Put you in a situation that's uncomfortable for you. I'm sorry for that. But I don't know how else to fix things except confronting things that I feel like are problems. And I invited Francesca here to meet my friends. I wanted you to see, hey, if Damian's strong enough as a man to bring her here, he must be confident enough in where him and I stand.
Strong enough to bring her here.
Okay, interesting. So for Damian, he brought her as a way in his mind to prove to Giannina and to everyone else, I guess, that Francesca's just a friend and he's not going to hide it. Okay. And, but the way to do that, but I'm guessing, so if that truly was his intent, which, I could see, I think he was so nervous as he entered the party that he didn't know how to engineer it very well. Because the way you engineer it is you say, hey, everyone, this is my friend, Francesca, and this is my girlfriend, Giannina, and I just want everyone to understand that. And then you hold hands with Giannina, and you don't let her go, and you let Francesca interact, but you show everyone, I'm with Giannina, and this is my friend. That is not what he did in the least, at all. And the other thing is, of course, we heard when Giannina left, is that Francesca was like, wait, you guys are still together? And you're like, what? Yikes.
Thank you for thinking that, but I will never think that was like a noble thing you
It
did
wasn't.
by
It
bringing
wasn't for
her
you.
here.
It was for me.
Really?
What do you want?
I'm done talking to you.
Do you want me to be a part of your life?
I just don't trust you.
So I will say on the scale of things, this conversation is actually pretty healthy, particularly for them. They can have some pretty awful conversations. And I will commend him. He did apologize. He said, I put you in an awkward position. I'm sorry. He could elaborate on that. Whenever you're apologizing, a little tip to everyone, elaborate. Really go into it. So, something like, look, I'm now realizing that when I brought her over here, it was totally awkward for you, and I totally get that, and I don't know what I was thinking, but it didn't work out the way I thought it was, and I could totally see why you're upset. Elaborate. Don't just say you're sorry. Really show why you're sorry. Really prove to the person why you're sorry. It also, so it helps the other person to forgive you. It helps them to understand where you're coming from. But it also solidifies in your head not to do that again. Apologies, when you really go for it, they get into your head as you're saying them, and then you're less likely to do it in the future.
I don't know what's going to happen after tonight. It was just a lot of emotions pushed in. It's been 2 years, obviously, since us meeting in the pods, and the love and connection we have there, I think, is definitely strong enough to carry us forward. But what that future looks like, I don't know.
You have some serious issues.
So I wonder if they have these kind of fights all the time. I'm guessing that they do. So she was hurt, and she, came out hostile in that last comment. He was hurt by that and says that's BS and walks away. It's unfortunate. There are so many ways out of that conversation. She could have said, well, thank you for apologizing. I hear that you're here for me, but I'm just really scared. I'm really scared that you're tricking me, or you're into her or something, and I don't know. I'm just really scared, and I don't know what to do about it. She could have said something like that instead of being hostile with him. He could have been like, yeah, I hear you. You're upset at me, and you're okay to be. It hurts my feelings when you talk that way, but it's but I get it why you're upset. Just a little bit more understanding, compassion towards each other.
I was doing like a drunk review of the movie Cats. And I guess it was so great that he decided to DM me. It was like, we should hang out. I was like, yeah, oh my God, totally. And then he was like, well, tonight.
Mark was not only sleeping with LC, his baby mama, he was also sleeping with another girl that I actually met, and I heard it was like 6, 7, 8 more.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.